Starship Troopers, released in 1997, directed by Paul Verhoeven, and written by Ed Numere, is one of the most widely controversial films of 1997, but also a well-regarded classic. So today, we're going into a detailed analysis of the 1997 movie Starship Troopers. It is a classic film for good reason. Directed by Paul Verhoeven, known for his gritty, bloody films such as RoboCop and Total Recall, being written by Ed Numere, who had also worked on Verhoeven for RoboCop, film out all the aspects of a great Verhoeven film, using also a bunch of cheesy alien concepts, but bringing them to life with some of the most amazing CG you can get from a time like 1997, and with a good progressive storytelling experience by using aspects, but also adapting Robert A. Heinlein's book of the same name, that was released in 1959. There's something that kept critics, fans of the book, and many in the audience alike from making this film a classic in their eyes. Politics. Politics that departed from the book in many ways. And before we go any further, I would like to say I don't agree with all the aspects of the Starship Troopers book, though I do like the concept. I do like basically the whole power armor concept and fighting bugs. But yeah, it departed from the book in many ways, while also satirizing most of the military aspects of the book by perceiving the Federation as Nazis, along with Verhoeven's radical perception on war in general, that essentially war makes a fascist out of all of us. Well, as you noticed from that one, I didn't really start it that much. It's because this is my first freaking video with the script that I've actually made, and it's pretty crazy, to be honest with you. I've never had a script made that was actually successful before. I've written some before on my computer, but I would never ever finish it. And plus, when I would make my video, and I'm using my computer as the platform for it, I mean, you can't really access that and stay focused at the same time. So anyway, here is my critical view of the politics of Starship Troopers. You know, how this entire thing is basically a satirization of a fascist military utopia in the far future, with the dramatic irony being that while it apparently works as a government, is only good in military situations for killing bugs. It's also very stifling of free expression. But that is not what, but that's not what really a lot of people kind of saw from the book. And you know, this is a Hollywood production. You know, Hollywood's not exactly the greatest when it comes to adaptations, believe me. Avatar: The Last Airbender knows this. But anyway, let's get into it. Now, just to be clear, I have not read the original book. So before you go jumping on my ass about, but the Starship Troopers book was super political too, I know. Okay, I watched Decker Shadow's review on it, and I actually like that review a lot, because it doesn't really focus on the political vision of it. But anyway, this is half the reason I'm making the damn video. Politics of the book, however, was a reflection of Robert A. Heinlein's military service, has more of a theme of patriotism, despite the big government stuff from my understanding. Now also, and this is something that a lot of the people in this documentary here will say, that the book was talking about, you know, how democracy is a big failure. In some ways, democracy can fail. It's because pure democracy sucks. Pure democracy is not really a thing that I aspire to, because A, it leads to mob rule, and then mob rule leads to big giant government intervention. Just for random things such as security, trading your liberty for security, you know, creating these giant massive welfare states, invasion of privacy for the apparent good of the whole. I'm not very much for those. I'm more for a representative republic like the United States is. But still, I think for the most part, I think that Heinlein was trying to create a concept of using his his service in the United States military as part of the aspect of influence for Starship Troopers, because Johnny Rico in the book and the movie, because I mean I've read the synopsis for the book at least. In the book and the movie, Rico is extremely patriotic, and he really wants to join the military. That's kind of the basis starting point for the book and the movie. But anyway, I remember a college English assignment that I had last year on the topic of the Starship Troopers movies, about the concept of service guaranteeing citizenship in the case for and against it. I really regret not asking my instructor for a copy of the movie or finding the movie on YouTube to actually understand what was being discussed. I am a very political person, as you can see, so this movie was right down my alley, and I missed a huge opportunity as a result because I picked the case for military service in exchange for citizenship. Like I said, I don't like your personal freedom in exchange for the right to, I'm not for basically selling yourself to the government to get perks. Okay, I'm not a big government guy. I'm a very, very small government guy. Alright, so this whole thing with the military, while I'm very pro-military, I'm not very extreme when it comes to the military. I want them to be used only when needed, which is something that people on Verhoeven's side kind of ignore when it comes to the military sometimes. But yeah, knowing what I know now about the book and the movie, I wouldn't have been for it, even though, like I said, I think the book has more of a theme of patriotism because of Heinlein's veterancy. From my experience of the movie and looking at descriptions of the book, it's a crappy concept in general because it takes rights away from the common people, the right to free expression, for the individual to vote as he or she pleases, and creating an oligarchy of military veterans to exercise their authority over the people, which is pretty bad. Alright, like I said, I'm not very much for that. But I'm not anti-military, unlike Verhoeven. Again, using the book, I think the concept was created by Heinlein in good faith, using the military as a force for good, as in World War II in Korea. No doubt the original book had its extremes. There are concepts I think were created with good intentions. But not like that's a good excuse, though, because, I mean, look at Karl Marx. His book became basically the basis for communism, which killed over 100 million people, probably close to 1 billion people in the 20th century alone. Who knows what it's killed this century. So when Paul Verhoeven was brought to the attention of the Starship Troopers movie, he was kind of enthusiastic about it. But then came some problems. While the book had patriotic symbolism mixed with big government and big new sci-fi concepts like the power armor, which was not in the movie, pissing off a lot of the fans of the book, Verhoeven was not as inclined to do super accurate, detailed adaptation of the book. For one, he found the book boring, depressing, and he couldn't get past the second chapter, which is understandable if the book is that way. The book is probably both, okay? Like I said, I haven't read it. But when I was 16 years old, I had to read a political book for UIL called 1920, The Year of Six Presidents. I managed to get through that, okay? Now, it was hard. It's hard to get through political books, okay? Because they're always slow. But I managed to get myself through that book. Alright, if you're making a movie without even half of the understanding, like, you're just going to get sum-ups from the writers, I mean, that's not real dedication, alright? If you were really going to do an adaptation, you need to do something better with it, and that's, I think, one of the biggest problems with this film is that I don't think half of them had at least a deep understanding. Ed Nemir probably had the biggest understanding of the book because he read it when he was 12 years old and he loved it. But yeah, I kind of expect more dedication from the Hollywood director as Verhoeven. Like, come on, come the fuck on. Alright, now the biggest problem is that he very much disagreed with the pro-militarization theme that the book had. Yes, it did. One of the stupid defenses of his change of direction was the extreme notion that essentially war makes a fascist out of all of us, which is the progressing theme in the movie. Is you got a bunch of kids, and now they also use this thing about how the kids are supposed to be all beautiful. half the people in that movie are fucking ugly. I'm sorry, but half the people are. Alright? Now, they may look decent, but maybe half of them aren't really as good looking. Maybe. Alright? But yeah, it's just that entire theme of this movie is you have a bunch of people in this proto-fascist utopia with huge themes on militarism all of a sudden run into these bugs, and when they go, and while they're good at running a government, they are not very good with, freedom, for personal freedom, even though apparently at the beginning there was all these things that contradict that, like, being able to go to Harvard, being able to do a bunch of shit without even being a citizen. There's a lot of time skip and consistency problems with that I have with this movie, but I can get into that in a full-scale review. So anyway, yeah, this is one of the most asinine things I've ever heard, though, that war makes a fascist out of all of us. It depends on your values, okay? And this is something that they try to make a big point in these documentaries, is that, this is a whole bunch of thing about personal values, but I mean, for the love of God, basically satirizing every World War II propaganda film that the Allies ever made, mixing it with the Nazis, essentially portraying the American and the British forces in World War II as Nazis, or at least as the equivalent of Nazis. That's what it looked like. It's just like vilifying a lot of military aspects that were coming out of World War II, even though they were used as a force for good, alright? The whole propaganda thing in World War II was really more of a, get up off your feet, help us with the war, alright? But what's different with this one is that it's intentionally made to where all the underlying facts about every situation are very vague through the use of FedNet. While in World War II, these propaganda films worked because everybody was knowledgeable about what the hell was going on. You had the free press. Alright? But like I said, this is all very weird, because when you're trying to do something, basically, you're trying to do a World War II adaptation, trying to do a World War II setting and putting it in a sci-fi action setting with fascism as one of the main themes, you're going to upset a lot of people. And this kind of upset me, not really when I first watched it, but really more when I watched this documentary, Death from Above, because, I mean, it just oozes political correctness out the ass. Alright, and like I said, the book very well may be promoting a low-key form of fascism, but is that what the entire book is trying to do? No, the entire book, I don't think that's what the entire book was trying to go for, okay? I think it just pissed a bunch of people off is because Heinlein was trying to get back at some pacifists. Like, that's essentially the underlying effect, because he pissed off a bunch of pacifists. But yeah, so like I said, he even went further with this view in the movie, turning the Human Federation into Nazis, comparing America to the Third Reich, using satire of World War II propaganda to vilify most sides of the Second World War, which is such a freaking insane comparison. The film is devoutly anti-military, at least from Verhoeven's perspective, right? Now, Ed Numir makes an excellent point in this documentary, that it's very easy to misconceive this movie as being anti-military, which is something that I think Verhoeven was the only one with the real thoughts about this. I think because they said most of the military actually like this movie, and I tend to agree. They think the military does like this movie. As a guy who's pro-military, I like this movie because of the military aspects, but it vilified the military, and I think this was vilified mostly because Verhoeven has such a freaking animosity towards American culture, and how we have all this stuff about the veterans here, and how he probably thinks that we worship them like a freaking gods or something like that, and it's just all weird. to me. Like, he would think like this. Right? And he also, and while he also served in the military in Holland, he also was living under the Nazi occupation of Holland when he was a little kid. So, I mean, I can understand not ever wanting all that stuff to happen again, but I mean, you're gonna piss off a lot of people by basically making a comparison with the military and Nazism, because it just sucks. Okay, while it has a humanization factor, it basically tries to pull that away at the last moment to try to show you, how much they progressed into becoming evil bastards. But it just sucks. But the Allied military, but on that issue of him being raised in a hostile environment, the Allied military is the main reason that the Nazis were driven out and defeated. I have no clue why he has such an animosity towards the military in the West. The decision making for the movie was influenced by him wanting to change a well-known book into a virtue-signaling cesspool because he thought the book was fascist, that the military is fascist, that Heinlein was fascist, that America was fascist. It's infuriating and troublesome to observe this. All of these changes rightly kept the movie from being successful when first released. A lot of people, ironically, called the movie Nazi glorifying, while others criticized how goofy it seemed to be with the satire. My family is part of that satire thing with the satire. It's like they thought the movie had a whole bunch. I watched it with my grandparents. I observed their reactions. They were like, "Holy shit! What the hell was that? They're giving out bullets to little kids. They're killing a bunch of cockroaches for no reason." Like, the satire really kind of turned them off. Like, they said they liked the action and that they thought the movie was decent, but the satire is what killed it for them. Alright, that's the same thing that my mom said, too. I asked her about it because I saw it at Walmart before I bought it. I asked her her thoughts about the movie. She said, "Yeah, it's alright, but it's too goofy for me." And in a way, I can understand that. The satire does kind of take the seriousness away from the movie. Which is part of the movie's problem, in my opinion. Like, it doesn't matter if that's what it intended to be. It kind of kills what you're trying to set with the serious factor. Alright, now if you were trying to do something like, what's that one movie? Well, I'll have to come back to that one later. Yeah. Now, while I still love the movie, the whole underlying aspect of the movie is that you are connected with the characters, but that you are rooting for them, but turning them into Nazis at the last moment, it's a betrayal of the audience. It's a betrayal of everyone who was invested going into the movie theater for the first time. It's a betrayal of the people who read the book, who were very invested in the character of Johnny Rico. And it also killed a lot of people who looked at this movie and thought it was very well made, but that the political aspects in there were just too much for them. And it's pretty bad. And as a man who is more of a conservative libertarian, there's just so much wrong in the implications and outright slander of conservatives by describing the Federation as a right-wing fascist group. Okay, that's very anti-historic. Hitler shares many views of the American left, such as borderline ethnic cleansing via abortion, eugenics, massive welfare state, society before the individual, the beautiful people concept, government control of the family. The list just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. Okay? Hitler was a leftist. Okay, Hitler was very much a guy who was very left guy. Okay? It seems like the movie was trying to slander all aspects of the right, whether it was European right or American right. American right has never, ever, 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 ever been remotely for this, okay? Robert A. Heinlein is part of the American right. At least, but because, Heinlein, I think, was more of a radical centrist when he made Starship Troopers, because for most of his life, he was pretty far to the left. Like, Isaac Asimov was friends with him. He said that Starship Troopers was made after he kind of made the shift towards the right. That, like, the dude was a socialist for half of his younger life. he was very extremely to the left. He was protesting like all the time in the 1920s. Okay? I think some of his politics were influenced by that time in his life where he was just so young. Alright, I think it was badly influenced, okay? The 1920s were a very, very trying time for everybody because, I mean, you had the Red Scare, you had uncertainty to start market up until, I mean, maybe 1923, and then everybody got joyous and happy over it. I mean, you had the entire isolationist stuff going on, so some people were unsure, but unless you were a communist or a socialist, you were feeling good about everything. And that's my entire thing with Heinlein, is that I don't think he's completely right. I think he's more of a centrist in the fact that he has more of these views towards, apparently, fascism, towards the big government with the military thing in here. But the dude ended up serving with Ronald Reagan in the Ronald Reagan presidency. He was actually one of the guys who actually helped set up that whole Star Wars defense grid thing, which is based as fuck. But I mean, like I said, Hitler fascism was very much to the American left as you can get. It is very far to the American left. It is nowhere close to the American right. The American right, or at least libertarian right wing, has always been for the individual, less government, a military that would protect our borders, and basically just rules that would keep us going. Alright, fascism seems to be just this society over the individual crap, this whole beautiful people crappy concept. It's just all of this BS of politics that the intersectional left is trying to ram down our throats. And like I said, with the borderline ethnic cleansing via abortion. Alright, in Iceland, I think it was Iceland, the rate of Down syndrome babies being born was at all-time lows because so many of them were getting aborted, which is, I'm just like, are you being fucking serious? There's no fucking way. And it's true. So many babies are being aborted in Iceland because their parents don't want to have to deal with the Down syndrome child. Alright, you know who else was spouting this kind of bullshit? Hitler! Like, what the fuck? This is massive, like I said, this movie is just a massive misconception of the American right wing. And it's really sad that they're doing this, okay? People on the left would do this all the time in the 2000s with Bush. They would count out every little thing Bush did that was remotely close to the right as being part of a Nazi conspiracy. They would do the same thing. They're doing most of the same thing with Donald Trump right now. And it's just fucking annoying. Easy. And Verhoeven even stated that he hated the decision made by Sony to do a reboot of the Starship Troopers movie by being faithful to the book as a fascist update for the Donald Trump presidency. What a fucking moron. Disagree with Trump on what you will. I don't necessarily like the guy either, but Trump is nowhere near a fascist. He's just a fucking loudmouth who did not take a campaign run seriously, but rode a conservative wave of anger over being called racist, sexist, bigots, terrorists for so goddamn long, being so pent up and tired of it, and essentially, since he was coming up against Hillary Clinton, a lot of people said, you know what, we're just going to run him. Alright, now Hillary Clinton, she was becoming very, very far progressively, and that far to the left, and it's just so bad. Just so bad how far to the left she went. Alright, because she used to be at least an honest Democrat, even though, you know, she was still a douche. You know, he had that whole thing with Bill Clinton. And you had all of this random, and you had, you know, but at least she was, well, no, I take that back, because, you know, Hillary was more of a center leftist, you could say. But during the Obama years, she just became this super radical oozing thing, and then people won't let her go because she lost in a fair fight. And it makes me think that they're worshiping her like Hitler. Alright, nobody's really... I mean, you got some people worshiping Trump like, he's the God Emperor and stuff like that. Most people are clearly joking when they say that, though. They literally brought Hillary Clinton onto the Grammys reading Michael Wolff's book Fire and Fury, which is a trash misconception of everything going on in the Trump White House, as read by Steve Bannon. Is essentially propaganda. And they call Donald Trump the fascist? No. You wonder why I don't take you seriously, Paul. Alright? As I draw this analysis to the close, I'm rather happy looking forward towards a true adaptation of the book, and hopefully it'll help stop this wave of political partisanship in Hollywood and beyond by being straightforward. And I really hope that maybe if I can't ever get a copy of the book, I'll at least get a movie adaptation that will actually show me the entire story instead of being half-assed vague on everything. But alright, that's my critical analysis of the politics of Starship Troopers. And, like I said, I like the movie, but goddamn, the politics are just so atrocious. Alright, and like I said, the politics, alright, and I'm giving these guys the benefit of the doubt, though. Books of the politics may be pretty bad, too. But I haven't read the book yet. Alright, but what I've seen from random descriptions is a little bit of a mix, where it seems to be more of a big government thing, but it's also more of a patriotic theme. And so, what I'm wanting right now is just an honest, all I'm trying to do is just an honest review of the movie's politics. Trying not to be a dickhead about it, but also just trying to be, very hesitant when it comes to accusing guys of random stuff. Though I do think Paul Verhoeven is vehemently anti-military. So, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that description of the politics of Starship Troopers. And if you like this one, I may do another critical analysis of another movie and all this stuff. Actually, no, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the next critical analysis I'll do, if I ever get to doing it, is why Wonder Woman is so objectified, even though she is basically she was written in the movie as a stereotypical superhero, and why we haven't had many good female heroines like Ellen Ripley and Sarah Connor for years. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. You guys have a good night.